am Morgan.
And I'm Jake, and this is
Neverland Navigation Radio.
Where today we are taking a sightseeing adventure around Walt Disney World to discuss a few of our favorite signs. Hey, if you haven't listened to our podcast and you've been looking for a reason, consider this a sign.
Yeah, there it is. I knew there would be a pun.
There's one in there.
Yeah.
There's one in there. Morgan, how are you today?
I'm good.
Are you? They're going to be joining us for a billboard adventure for this episode. I think this is one of my favorite topics that we've ever done.
It's so weird.
Gotta
it's so
say.
weird and fun.
Yeah, it is like one of those detail things where it's like, oh, this is what the magic is made of, is all these cool little details on these signs and stuff.
Right?
Before we dive into our list, though, we wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. If you're on the audio version of the podcast over on Apple Music or Spotify or wherever you listen, thank you so much for inviting us into your headphones. If you would like to leave a review, we would appreciate it a lot. Helps us keep the podcast going, helps us keep making this Disney World content worth seeing. And you can also, speaking of seeing, you can also see us visually on the YouTube version of the podcast over there on the Neverland Navigation Co. YouTube channel, and we would be glad to have you over there as well. Go check us out.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you are thinking about taking a vacation of any kind, send me an email at neverlandnavigationco@gmail.com.
Yes.
I am a free-to travel agent, and I get you the same deal you could get yourself online or better. Plus, I help you with any planning that you need done, and you get free trip t-shirts from our 5-star Etsy shop if you let me help you book.
Yes.
So there's a cool loophole type thing in the world of travel where travel agents, the consumer no longer has to pay them, the company that they're traveling to has to pay them without charging you anymore. So it's kind of an amazing win-win for me, for you. If you were going to take a $2,000 Disney World vacation anyway, let me help you book it, and you get free t-shirts, and you help a small business because I get paid commission.
And tell Morgan, we all want to do different attraction signs as t-shirts.
That's my favorite shirts to do. That's what most of my clients want.
And that's awesome. And just from that, it's really...
Like somebody will have a Haunted Mansion design, and somebody will have a Pirates of the Caribbean sign, like a poster on a t-shirt, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I love seeing the pictures of everybody in the group with their different attractions on. Yeah. I think that makes for such a fun picture. So yeah, definitely make sure you take advantage of that. And then once you're on your trip, if you're going to Walt Disney World, I truly think something that is underappreciated about Walt Disney World is how much amazing design and artistry goes into a lot of the signage and text and stuff that you see all throughout the parks. It's all created in Imagineering by people who specifically spend their entire lives training to make these themed implements happen in the park, and some of them are very, very cool. Some of them are animated, some of them are neon, some of them are just extremely detailed to the theme of whatever attraction that they're representing, or whichever building they're representing. We're actually going to do an entire additional episode in the future that's going to be attraction signs, because there are some iconic attraction signs as well, but there are enough signs for restaurants and retail locations and all kinds of other things that we could do a whole nother episode just on that. So that's what we're doing today. I'm so excited. Do you feel that we need to go in any order, or should we just kind of rapid fire go through our favorite signs?
We can rapid fire. I definitely have a number 1.
Okay, yes.
But beyond that, I don't feel like... actually, I did kind of top 10 it, but I don't have to.
All right, no, well, we'll definitely save your number 1 for number 1, of course. Okay. And other than that...
Since you, I'm sure, know what it's going to be, if you could save it.
Absolutely.
We've talked about it.
I just moved it down the list.
You guys might know, too.
Yes, you might, from past episodes. All right. Do you mind if I start us off?
Go ahead.
I'm going to start us off with a personal favorite in Hollywood Studios.
So are you doing a top 10, or are we just basically rapid firing until we get to the number 1?
Please allow me just one moment to reorganize my thoughts. This is a sign that my list was not organized enough.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay, hold on.
I'm just asking. We can totally do just You name one, I name one. We talk about it.
What if I told you I had 10 just happenstantly?
Wow.
I know, right? Isn't that
Wow.
wonderful?
That is wonderful.
So yeah, we can definitely do 10.
Okay.
Okay, I'll do a top 10. I can very quickly figure this out in terms of order here. I would say my number 10 is going to be this because it toes a line category wise. So I'm going to get it out of the way now
Okay.
as my number 10. And that is the Hollywood Tower Hotel neon sign on the side of the Tower of Terror attraction.
I
Well, the
love
front.
that. I love that. And I thought about that too because it really does work. It's not the attraction entrance sign because it doesn't even
Yes.
say the name of the attraction.
Okay, I'm so glad we're on the same
Yeah.
page. That was exactly my train of thought
Yeah.
because it does have its own specific attraction entrance sign, which is in its own way iconic because it has a special effect.
Right.
But we'll get into that on the attraction signage episode, perhaps. In this episode, I'm talking about the big flickering Hollywood Tower Hotel sign that is on the Tower of Terror, Twilight Zone Tower of Terror ride building, and I just think it is an awesome example of themed signage within the park.
Yeah, I love how it's faking you out.
It's faking you out. Yeah, not only does the scale of that show building fake you out because it sure do look like a hotel.
Yeah.
Am I right? But the sign itself not saying Twilight Zone Tower of Terror,
Right.
but instead saying Hollywood Tower Hotel is just.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it too.
It's completely in the universe of the
like
attraction.
you really sold the story.
Yes, and
this story is still selling like how many floors high outside? 30 floors high.
I know.
Yeah.
And there's like charring on the building where the lightning strikes it within
Yes.
the plot line of the story, and that corresponds to which letters flicker on the sign.
Yes.
And that level of immersive themed detail on the Hollywood Tower Hotel building is what makes it probably one of my top three maybe favorite show buildings of all time. We've never done that.
Oh, okay.
Favorite show buildings of all time. Okay, stick around, folks. We've got a lot to talk about. Yeah, I love this sign. I love the flickering effect. It adds a very ominous vibe to the attraction at nighttime, which I think is awesome for storytelling as you walk up to the ride. It already tells you what to expect from it. And it's also a very cool lighting presentation on Sunset Boulevard at night.
Yeah, I agree. This would be definitely in my top 10 if I had. I mean, I did think about it. I just wasn't sure. But we definitely agree. This does deserve to be there.
Absolutely. I'm glad we're on the same page about this one.
Yeah.
All right.
You want me to go on?
Please.
So my number 10. Hold on. 1, 2. Okay, perfect. I was just making sure. My number 10 is the sign for Primetime Cafe.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So this is it's just so fun and retro and
it is.
You know?
I do.
I love the theming. It shows you what you're in for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's perfect. So the restaurant is 50s style restaurant, but like based like you're eating at your aunt's house or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's got that like aqua and pink, I think, are on the signs.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember exactly what it looks like.
Oh, I've got it pulled up because this was on my list as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. 50s Primetime, right?
Yes.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about the sign is that it spins.
Yes.
It's got a dynamic movement element to it. And I actually really love not only the spinning, but I love the overall shape of the sign. It's very imaginative, very of the era. And I love that it incorporates several elements of mid-century design, including the starburst shape of the clock on here, as well as the signature like arrow puck style shape, which was like you see in a lot of 60s patterns and stuff. And of course, it's got a retro TV on it with an element of neon as well. It really all ties together to give you the ultimate retro sign experience.
Even the even the Coca-Cola sign that's on there that is like showing that they sponsor this restaurant fits in the 50s theme of it all. It's got the Coke bottle. You know what I mean?
This is so good.
I love the fonts that they used. I love the like angles that are not, they're not
right. They're asymmetrical.
Yes, exactly. It makes me want to go there.
Yes.
I especially love the colors.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This restaurant also holds a special place in our heart because it was the first video that we uploaded to our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a Neverland navigation favorite. And the sign does this experience justice in a huge, huge way.
Yeah. Awesome.
Wonderful. All right, I've got the Pop Century sign. Did you think I was going to get into resorts on this
I
list,
don't know. I
Morgan?
definitely this exact one is on my list. This is my only
What?
resort. Yep.
Oh my
Are you
gosh.
just doing the sign?
What do you
Is
mean?
this all you're doing? Is this all you're counting?
Yeah.
Okay, then you talk about that, and then I'm gonna add on to it.
Okay, wonderful. I'm talking about, this exact sign is duplicated in a couple places.
Right.
Number one, when you drive in, it's on either side of the drive.
Mhm.
But then when you drive up to the actual hotel, instead of the big star that's on the All Star Resorts placement of the lobby, in the front there, they've got this big comic like starburst, and then the words Pop Century in period appropriate fonts, and then resort down there in the footer. And it is a lot of things that I love about the resort itself. Very colorful. I like that it's very angular and very like explosive. It's meant to be eye catching and poppy.
Yeah.
And I think it tells the story very well
I
just
think-
from a design perspective.
Yeah, I think from a design perspective, wouldn't you say they're using 3 different fonts that pay nod to 3 different centuries?
Ooh, I had not noticed, but yes, absolutely.
I mean that's a little bit of a stretch, but like especially the word century, it's written like in the same font you'd see on a bowling ball.
Yes.
Which reminds me of the 1950s.
Or one of those blue cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely, well, you know the one I'm talking about.
I do. I sure do. I can picture it.
Absolutely, yeah. It does tell all of those stories, but it looks like a unified piece. It looks like it's very Disney in
Yeah.
its like color and its dimension as well. Because not only is the sign multi-layered, but it's also got this intense perspective going on behind the letters that offer it this really cool, dynamic, three-dimensional quality. So it looks like it's popping out of itself, which is obviously a great compliment to both the visual theme and the name of the resort.
Yes.
A very cleverly designed sign.
So I'm going to add on to this. This is my number 8.
Tell me.
Is there are also, when you're driving in, a bunch of signs on the sides of the road that say things like air conditioned rooms,
Oh,
color
yes.
TV, heated pool.
I'm so glad you brought these up.
Yeah, and it's like, it's such a cute nod to a retro family vacation.
Agreed.
That I just love the feeling those signs give you when you're driving back
Aww.
to get to the resort.
I completely agree. It just adds to the ambiance. It adds to the feeling of nostalgia. And it really cashes in to the utmost extent on the theme, which you can always count on Disney resorts to do. And it just so happens that they tell that story with elaborate signage in this resort, which makes it perfect for this list.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. What do you have on yours?
So my next one is a bit of a throwback, I guess. And that's not the entrance sign, but the signs while you're on the ride for Primeval World.
Oh, Morgan.
I don't even like this ride, but I love the signs.
Well, I don't like it anymore.
Well, nobody likes it anymore. But
R.I.P. these signs. Can
yes.
I tell you that I actually think it was the loss of these signs that made me so sad to lose Primeval World.
Yeah.
Because aesthetically, they're so fun.
Yes, they're so fun, and it really does tell the story. I personally just didn't like the way this ride felt.
Oh, yeah. You're not supposed to.
But the story that they're doing really is portrayed through these really beautiful, shiny, over-the-top carnival-type signs.
Yes.
And they've got clocks on them and say stuff like back in, like when you're going up, it's like, oh, back in time, way back in time, and it goes on and on. At one point, gosh, what did it say? I forget.
The end is near.
The end is near.
Okay,
That's what
good.
I was trying to remember. Thank you. And
a dinosaur is holding the sign.
Yes.
I love it.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny, and it's kind of comic book.
I know,
looking.
right? I'm sure somebody has a tattoo of this somewhere out there. The dinosaur holding the end is near sign.
Oh wow.
I think it's a beautiful little addition to the storyline.
Yeah.
I think it's so fun and quirky. It goes so well with the carnival theme that they've got going on in this area
Yeah.
to tell it with such color and such pizzazz on each of the. It also reminds me a little bit of Seuss Landing over in Universal Studios Islands of Adventure because it's got so
Yes, I
many
agree.
spirally, colorful elements that take you into the world. Ugh, I miss
And they're
the
like
signage already.
sequined or glittered or
Yeah.
however they made them shine like the way that they shine.
I love the ones that you passed that had the sequin
Yeah.
quality because it made the light reflecting off of them makes it even that much more like razzle dazzly Broadway fun.
Yeah, but I feel like they're using the sequin type stuff that they use also added to that like carnival kind of cheap
Right.
fun, which is what it's all part of the story. So
Yeah.
So very amazing. Very, very good signs.
A huge loss, to be honest, to lose all of those amazing signs. I
Yeah.
hope one way or another, many of them have been preserved in the archives, especially the ones that really stand out, like the End is Near sign and a couple others.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. I did not even think to include that because it is RIP, but I'm very glad that you did. All right, I've got one that's kind of a new one. It is the Gusteau's sign over in
Oh, good one.
the France Pavilion.
I didn't think of that. Great. That's a great one.
This is a new addition, and you don't always see it.
Yeah, I should have. This should be on my list too.
I only thought about it because I had the memory of us gliding past it for the first time on the Skyliner together and being like, what? Oh my gosh. It looked so, so good, illuminated in the night.
And that star comes and goes, right?
Yeah, it's like animated. The star like flickers, which like it does in the movie. Really a nice touch to this area. You only see this when you're in the Ratatouille area of France off to the right side of the pavilion.
Or on the Skyliner.
Or, of course, gliding by it on the Disney
you can
Skyliner.
see it for free.
Yeah, and that is nice.
Park admission not necessary.
That's actually a really nice part of the Skyliner ride is getting a good, like, different angle of seeing that sign. I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
But this sign, like, it's in the universe of the film, obviously. So it does a lot to take you into the story before you even get there. And then once you're inside of the ride, there's this thing that happens of theme duplication because when you're in the queue itself, it simulates an outdoor Paris rooftop setting, and the sign, the Gusteau sign, appears again in projection form in the attraction queue as well. So you get a lot of this sign. In the Ratatouille experience over at France, but this is my favorite version, the one on the exterior facade. I think it really pops in the nighttime, and I think it's so fun to tell you that you're in the Ratatouille universe.
Yes, this is a great one. I love this.
Yes.
My next one is the sci-fi dine-in billboard and sign.
Yes.
Is this on your list?
Oh yes, the 50s one was too, because these are obviously iconic.
Yes. Well, I have a few extras, so if you want to talk about this one, I can talk about something else.
Oh sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love this sign because it pays such good homage to the visual elements that make this 60s theme really pay off. We've got this angular sci-fi text up here that is like, it's weird, it's gorgeous, it looks like lightning bolts, or it reminds me of Flash Gordon, that era of filmmaking, and it's got this flying saucer dynamic element on the top that looks like it's crashing into the sign, which is so much fun. Such great storytelling. It's got this this atomic burst as the dash between psi and phi, which is very fun storytelling to kind of bring you back to that atomic age fun. And then we've got retro lettering to spell out the word dine-in, which is a play on the drive-in.
Right. I always want to call it drive-in.
I know, right? I search drive-in to find this sign and then realize that I'm doing it wrong.
Right.
And something that people may not see is that there's also there's these elements on the sign that are attached to each letter of the word dine in. And I believe these are meant to replicate 60s taillights of old cars.
Oh my God.
Which is a very fun little detail because, as you may know, you sit in cars to enjoy your experience here at the dine-in.
Right.
Then we've got this picnic print attachment at the bottom of the sign. It's this cool old school gingham, but in the teal, red, and yellow font story or color story that starts on the top of the sign. And it's also got this neon restaurant lettering that illuminates in the night. And all of it comes together to create a sign with a lot of movement, a lot of energy, and a really cool eye flow, because you start with this flying saucer and then there's neon at the bottom to guide your eye down to experience the entire sign. And that is a very cool, intelligent design feature of this as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this sign.
And even the other elements that are also basically signs that advertise for this restaurant, like right underneath is like a marquee, and then there's a billboard.
Yeah.
That it looks like it's for a 50s monster or alien invasion movie.
Terror at the Drive-In.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's right there also. And I feel like all these things combined just make for this really amazing area that lets you know where you're going.
It's true. As a kid, I was always so curious about what the inside looked like.
Right, because you can't see any of it unless you get a reservation.
We had no idea, and we never ate there when I was a kid, so I spent my entire childhood wondering.
Right.
But the signage, not only the actual sign, restaurant sign itself, but like you were saying, this billboard, it's such good storytelling in the signage that it made me think, is that a ride? What is that? I need to be in there. And just that alone tells you that this does its job so well.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a great one, definitely. Hollywood Studios kills it with signs.
I agree.
They're nailing it. All right, do you want me to go on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I have on here, this one I think is the most controversial one on my list. Are you ready for controversy?
Yeah.
Okay, I have on here, you might not believe this, I have the new Tomorrowland sign on here.
Oh, wow, very controversial.
Very controversial. Now,
I'm surprised.
The Magic Kingdom Tomorrowland sign has been predated by several other things. When Magic Kingdom opened in 1971, Tomorrowland looked a little bit different. The blue-gray colored rocks adorning either side of the entranceway from the hub that we have now did not exist, and instead there were these big spire waterfalls that started to tell the visual story that would be continued on through the attraction signage stands throughout the park. There were these angular white spires that had a water effect that flowed down them. It was very futuristic and cool, but it would drench the guests with water as they walked through, and they would constantly have people like slipping over there and stuff. So that's why I think eventually they phased that out for a different look. The 90s gave Tomorrowland a completely different aesthetic. With a more like retro galactic vibe to it, which was quite fun. And it gave us the first Tomorrowland sign that was here, which was kind of this big, dynamic, wiry thing that looked otherworldly and reminded me very much of Innoventions over in Epcot. Had a very similar vibe to the signage in there. And it was that, kind of chrome retro futurism that had splashes of color. And then recently, this was updated as Tomorrowland shifts back to a more clean retro approach with this white that's popping back up all over Tomorrowland. That was represented in the new signage as well. We've got a much more minimalistic structure. It's curved. It's like this curved white structure. It reminds me very much of the look of the LAX theme building, which was a restaurant in LAX that pioneered this kind of retro looking thing as far as like iconography and themed entertainment goes. And my favorite thing about this minimalistic structure is that it's got an inline light system in the halo that's at the top of the sign. And it illuminates different colors throughout the night that adds a little splash of color without being cheesy. Here's my complaint of this sign. It is not very fun, and I find during the day especially.
Yeah.
And the Tomorrowland lettering at the top is very bland in comparison to the theming going on in the rest of the land. So I think this could have used maybe one more round of lettering revision, perhaps. before it was a go, or even a retro Tomorrowland font would have been appropriate for this, since it is trying to emulate the original, the original retro Tomorrowland style from Disneyland. It would have been cool to see something maybe italicized, something with a sharp T that jutted out, or something like that would have been maybe a little more fun. I also regret losing the atom symbol,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that was big throughout the history of Tomorrowland,
Yeah.
between Adventures Through Inner Space, and it just has appeared through the Monsanto Hall of Chemistry. It would be cool. We used to have a nod to that in the old sign, and we don't anymore, so it's kind of sad to lose stuff. But despite all of those flaws, I think the cool minimalistic lighting at night and the unique structure, I think it's a good swing at a Tomorrowland sign, and I like walking under it.
Okay.
Sorry, that was very
No,
long-winded.
no, you're good. It's interesting to think about that, like, this sign is big and over the top of the walking in entrance from Main Street
Yeah.
or from the hub, and the other lands don't really have that
Yeah.
in a interesting way. It's interesting that, I don't know.
No, that is definitely true. Like, there's no big Liberty Square
Right.
sign or
The
Frontierland sign.
Liberty, I almost included the Liberty Square sign
It
because
is
it's
cool.
just a little sign, and then there's a plaque that
Right.
says, like, oh, you're entering, and it goes on and talks about the people that were in a revolution.
Right.
And, like, it gives a little bit of, like, the history, basically. But yeah, Frontierland, there's no sign, right?
And for Liberty Square, that is kind of cool, because in its own way it is in theme. Because Liberty Square is not like this would look crazy. Anything like this would look crazy.
This only really works here.
Right. I think that's a good point. It's very it is weird to have like a walk under sign in Disney. There are a couple, but not usually of this scale and proportion.
Yeah, it's interesting that they felt like they needed to do that.
I agree, because the planetary oh god, what do you call that thing? The Astro Orbiter, there's a name.
There's enough of a symbol there to identify.
Yes, and it also very much matched the old sign. Mm-hmm. So it's weird to see the contrast between 90s Tomorrowland back here and 1950s / modern revisionist retrofuturism Tomorrowland up here. It's just I think Tomorrowland is still in the midst of an identity crisis, and I think it's symbolized by its icons right here.
It does feel, and I know it's not this, because all of these things have happened so slowly over the course of time, but it seems like different people were assigned to different projects, and they didn't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Like, whoever's making the Frontierland entrance didn't talk to the person that was making the Tomorrowland entrance, and the person that made the Tomorrowland entrance didn't talk to the person that made Astro Orbiter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like they're speaking different design languages.
Yeah. But I get that there's time. It's a timing thing.
It is, which is ironic for a park about land about the future, but it is what it is. Yeah. All right, that's my TED Talk on the Tomorrowland sign. What do you have next?
All right, I've got Pleasure Island with Jessica Rabbit.
I didn't know we were doing extinct stuff. Sorry. I love it. No, this is a great sign to talk about, please. Yeah,
well, it's a good thing I did extinct stuff. Otherwise, we'd have all the same stuff.
Absolutely.
So the Pleasure Island sign was a neon sign that now I feel like is quite nostalgic.
Yes.
This has been gone for a hot minute. But it said Pleasure Island, in pleasure being like a flamingo pink and island being like a teal, which is those colors I love again. And then it says tonight in neon cursive with an exclamation point at the end. Then there's Jessica Rabbit, showing off. To show you this is like an adult only section.
Yes, looking proudly over her shoulder.
Yes. And that's it. I just think it's an iconic sign. I think it's kind of funny.
It is. It's weird.
Yes, it's weird.
It's weird for Walt Disney World. It is iconic in its own right, because it is both kind of suggestive, which is very not weird. Typical for them.
Well,
but also it's got Disney magic in it.
Yeah.
It's got that cool dynamic range of font and lettering. It's got these interesting elements like a neon outline on the Jessica Rabbit sign and animated firework signs that would
Right.
like turn on
Go
and
back
off,
and forth.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. They would alternate.
Yeah.
Which of course is a reference to the fact that at Pleasure Island every midnight they would shoot fireworks like it was New Year's Eve.
Every night was New Year's Eve. Yeah.
Yeah, which is awesome. So this sign not only gives you information like that it's only for adults or whatever, but it also tells
hints
the
at
story
information, yeah.
of Pleasure Island.
Yeah.
Good job. That's amazing. Yeah, I love the fonts here. Everything about this sign is great. I hope one day we get this displayed somewhere. I don't know where.
I don't know where either. There are no more like adult only sections of Disney. They don't really. That's not really their bread and butter.
Yeah,
so.
it's so true. This sign encapsulates a very strange time in the Michael Eisner Disney era. I can't help but love it.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people have this pose tattooed. All right, that's real. Anything else about this sign?
Nope, that's it.
Even in the day, I see a daytime version of it.
Yeah.
Even in the day, these colors look incredible. Yeah.
But I think that it kind of is subtle during the day.
I agree.
It makes sense because this is a night event.
Right.
Yeah. I just think it's so. I really think it's funny.
It is funny. It's so weird.
Yeah.
We don't see Jessica Rabbit like at all anymore.
Well, yeah, she's in Disneyland, but now she wears a trench coat to cover up her assets.
But it's not like they're showing her off as a character you can meet or in parades or.
Oh my gosh, have you seen pictures of the meet and greet with her?
Yeah, the one that they bring her out for special events.
Yeah,
she is
talked about this.
horrifying.
Terrible.
Oh my gosh, talk about taking an iconic silhouette and look and turning it into something unrecognizable.
I get that it's hard to do. I get it, but then don't. Sometimes you just don't.
I agree. Hard doesn't mean should.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes hard means maybe stop. I think a face character is the example. And you gotta pat her like a drag queen. You know? Give her a bodysuit and pat her like a drag queen.
But then I feel like you're like walking a line.
Oh, about making commentary on the appearance of women? Yeah, that's probably why. That's probably why.
I say just don't. Let's just not.
I agree. She's better as a memory.
Or, I mean, as an animated character, sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although, still walking a line. But yeah, memory, it's good.
Yeah. Do you have anything else on your list?
I do. The next thing on my list is something that's not around anymore.
From the past.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I bamboozled you with all of this. You know what I mean? Like we didn't.
Well, that's okay. I'm glad they're getting mentioned because these are some. So far, they've been. The Pleasure Island Jessica Rabbit sign that was iconic. So I'm glad we're bringing them up.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you're not upset. Sometimes we we'll just say we have a topic, but we don't really talk about rules.
It gets so complicated, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I'm glad you're not upset.
Yes.
Anyway, this is one that you and I were both super upset to lose. Okay, and that was the Tower of Terror advertisement 3D sign that was in the middle of the roadway.
I used to love seeing this as a kid.
I loved it so much.
Yeah.
It was just part of the driving around Disney property experience that you would only see it if you were driving or you were on a bus, but you usually were one of those things.
Right.
And I love how it has it's like a sign, but it's got a moving element.
Right.
And they put it out pretty soon after Tower of Terror opened to begin with, I feel like.
It was to promote the opening, I think, maybe,
Yeah, and none of us really expected it to go away because it was just seemed like a permanent thing. Why would you take it away?
Yeah, it was quite big. It was on these metal supports, and it was a really high quality sign.
Yeah.
You probably are familiar with it if you're listening to our podcast, but it was this big, tall cutout of the Tower of Terror with these ominous lightning-filled clouds.
You would call it a sign, right?
Yeah, I would call it a sign. I feel like the options are sign or billboard, but I don't think it quite fits billboard. But
I considered including billboards, like the maroon billboard.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
I feel like we could almost do a separate billboard one. Yeah, we could get really deep into this. But yeah, I would say this is a sign. And like you were saying, it's basically two-dimensional with a few exceptions. The background of it, but then it's got that cool three-dimensional element of one of the ride cars looking like it's falling out of the elevator shaft in front of the sign. All of its cords have been cut, and it's even got some three-dimensional passenger figures inside who are in absolute peril at the state of their vacation.
Yeah. When zooming in on this picture, we found that they are more terrified than we realize.
Yeah, I don't think that guy.
That's how I felt.
There's one man holding his arm out, and I think he forgot to put his seatbelt on or something because he really looks distraught.
Yeah, he's trying to jump out.
Morgan, when we were researching this, found pictures of this being demolished, and wow, what heartbreaking photography.
Yeah. Gosh, it's like watching somebody be killed.
I know. My baby. It was so sad to lose this one.
Yeah,
Amazing piece of signage history, though.
Yeah.
I mean, this should be in a museum.
For real.
Amazing.
It moves, it's 3D,
yeah.
It like tells the story and gets you excited
right.
to go to Hollywood Studios. I don't see why they wouldn't keep it.
I know, the artistry of it is so like detailed. We've got shingles on our roof awnings here.
Yeah.
We've got distress on the actual facade of the sign building. So good. So many amazing details going on in here. It is a shame to lose something like this that so much love, artistry, sketches, paint, so much went into this. It's sad to lose it all at once, but I'm glad you mentioned it so that I can live on through this conversation. All right, are you ready for another one?
Yeah.
I've got another addition into our canon of iconic neon signs.
Okay.
Over at Disney's Boardwalk, there's a lot of delicious signage going on and a lot to choose from, but the one that I picked is the Flying Fish sign.
Okay.
The Flying Fish is a seafood restaurant on the boardwalk.
A super fancy, expensive seafood restaurant on the boardwalk.
Yes, very sophisticated, very cool on the inside. And on the outside, it has this very interesting, very eye-catching sign that is a neon sign that illuminates at night. And it has just always caught my eye when there. And I can't help but to look at it and be impressed by a lot of the things going on. Morgan pointed out previously when talking about this restaurant that the sign is maybe a different vibe than the inside of the restaurant.
It's totally a different vibe because the sign is like neon and whimsical, and there's like jumping fish and bright colors.
Mm-hmm.
And the inside of the restaurant has like blown glass fish and cloth napkins and $50 entrees.
Fancy.
Yeah. And it's funny, you don't expect a neon sign that looks like this. Like even the font they use for the Flying Fish is kind of like circusy.
Yeah.
Adventure-y. But then when you walk in, it's like a fine dining establishment. So I feel like there's a bit of disconnect between this sign and the restaurant, but when we were talking about it, it does seem like the sign is more to match the boardwalk ambiance.
Yeah, it does look like a boardwalk attraction sign, which definitely does fit in with the vibe. And we were looking through the history of this when we were making this list, and we saw that this sign has undergone some changes. It used to include the word cafe, and we think that has to do with maybe a redesigning of the interior as well. But we can't be sure. What I do know now, presently, though, is that aside from representation of the building that it's supposed to be, a sign for, which is, in my opinion, a very important component of the sign, what it does have going for it in a positive way is that it's very dynamic and dimensional. We've got different layers going on. The background is fish scales and this very attractive blue color that I love with a matched scallop awning underneath that mirrors the tone. and shape of the scales from the background of the sign. And then overlaid, we have the flying fish text, which is, like Morgan said, it's got this kind of like adventure-y, whimsical typeface that you would associate maybe with a themed restaurant and when I say themed restaurant, I mean like Rainforest Cafe theme. Like, you know what I mean? Like an over-the-top theme experience. And that is not what you get inside, but the design is still quite beautiful. There's also movement to the text, not in terms of the light, but it's got these strokes of movement in the signage itself that make it look like the sign is maybe moving, like flying with the fish. That's very cool. And then it's surrounded by all of these neon cutouts of the flying fish themselves, little fish with wings on them. And that's my favorite part, these cool fish neon lights that are all around. I think they're really fun, and I think
at night, amazing.
Yeah, the color at night is really, it adds a lot of atmosphere to the area as well. So despite not being super connected to the inside, I love walking by this side.
I did a quick Google search, and as it turns out, we were right.
Oh.
In 1995, when it opened, it was the Flying Fish Cafe, and it had a more whimsical decor and ambiance that evoked Coney Island, including images of fish flying on Ferris wheels and other carnival rides.
We called it.
Yeah, we totally called it. And then at some point, they did a renovation that elevated the decor to the level of the food, which kind of leads me to believe that it was always a fancy restaurant, just with a weird, whimsical
I wish
decor.
I could go back in time and eat at this restaurant when it was like weird and tacky.
Yeah.
Just to experience that version of it, because it's so different now.
Yeah, I don't even see a picture of how it was when it was Flying Fish Cafe, but I mean, I'm sure if I deep dive a little bit, I'll be able to find it.
Yeah, really cool. I'm actually glad that we know a little bit about the history, because it explains a little bit better why there was such difference between the sign and the current interior. It makes a little bit more sense. That is really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, we're seeing images now from the former interior, and wow.
I did, yeah.
It was quite different. Nowadays, it's kind of grays and blues, blown glass, crystal elements, very minimalist and sophisticated. And previously, it seemed like there was more of a presence of like warm tones, and I think the key focal point of the interior was this like Ferris wheel adornment on the wall that is very cool and very Coney Island. There were murals on the top of the restaurant as well.
This is what the pictures of what it was when it was Flying Fish Cafe totally match the outside.
A boardwalk theme seafood restaurant?
Yeah, I don't know that it makes sense. Like, I don't know if you want to go to a boardwalk themed restaurant and then pay $50 for 3 scallops.
Yeah.
But maybe it wasn't.
Yeah,
but it said that they were elevating it to match the food.
Well, a crab cake used to cost $17 there.
That is a lot.
That's a lot. So they were charging...
Yeah. I wonder, I mean, yeah. A tartare was 19, sushi 12. It's not actually that bad for what it is.
Right. Now, are you adjusting for inflation? I'm just kidding.
For real.
that is, I guess, part of the story. Yeah. But yeah, so a little bit of fascinating history for the flying fish, but we are left with the original, slightly altered, but still original sign, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is fascinating, sorry.
I know, right? We ended up doing an accidental, no pun intended, deep dive.
Well, pork loin, 38. The Flying Fish Cafe's Idaho potato wrapped red snapper was 40. And it had a red wine butter reduction.
Okay.
So it was fancy food. I'm just saying.
Yeah, fancy food with a quirky theme.
$40 for a fillet. There's the 3 sea scallops I was talking about. $40 with risotto.
Wow.
So it did have, interesting.
Premium pricing all along.
Yeah. Oh, it looks really good.
Looks good, right? I want to go back in time.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
So that's very interesting.
Glad we know more. I feel like we can make a TikTok. That was very cool. All right. That's the flying fish sign. What do you got? What's next?
Oh, I have next. So, okay.
What?
Should I beg your forgiveness?
What?
I'm doing one that's actually at Disneyland.
No.
But it's so ingrained in my brain as Disney's sign, the best Disney sign, or one of the best Disney signs that there is, that I just can't not include it. And that is Astronaut Mickey neon, like jumping or flipping around over Star Traders. This is like just if you haven't seen it, you should try looking it up. But there's a bunch of different images of Astronaut Mickey, and it's like a flip book because one will light up, and the next one, and the next one, and then the next one. So it makes it look like he's moving.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they'll all be lit up. But it's very cool. It's got movement to it. It's got these, like, what I think of as retro colors with the pink and the teal.
Yeah, it's like an electric blue.
Yeah, electric blue. That's better.
Really, really iconic, gorgeous. I definitely love this sign. I'm glad you brought this one up. I'm not mad at you. Here are some things that I actually love about it now that I'm looking at it up close. I brought up a picture. I like that Mickey Mouse does not have eyes, but it doesn't detract from his appearance at all.
Yeah.
It adds, I think, maybe a level of intrigue, modernism. It makes the flow of the piece a lot more consistent. The outlines are so well thought to twist him and contort him into different floating positions that create this assembled wave pattern. Oh my gosh, delicious. I love it so much. Yeah. I want one of these in our Tomorrowland at Walt Disney World, right?
I do too, for sure.
That would be so good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that is a great one. I'm not mad about including Disneyland stuff. If we're gonna include Disneyland stuff, though, we should talk about the entrance sign.
Oh my god, it's iconic. I'm obsessed with it. I wish that ours was like that.
Yeah.
I have made short designs where I put different words that have that same kind of look to it. So the Disneyland sign has, what would you say, like blocks of color behind each letter?
Yeah.
And then flags coming out?
Yes. It's really, really beautiful. We're, of course, talking about the original Disneyland entrance sign, which was modeled after the Disneyland Hotel sign that introduced this block appearance, and then it was adapted to the park sign. What's so great about it is that it's got these dynamic shapes behind, and they're arranged in a position that adds a lot of whimsy and texture behind each of the block letters, and that modern mid-century look is being contrasted with this medieval typeface for the Disneyland print, and it really tells a beautiful visual story. Not to mention that these flagpoles coming out from the top are all a different color and add so much fun shape and height to the silhouette of the sign that you really can't help but enjoy the color and the shape and the dynamic figuring. Now, they did change this. At first, I believe, to a sign that had no flags on top of it at all, to a different sign. I can't find a picture of that one, though. And then the most recent edition that we got has the flag element back from the original iteration, and a little bit of a taste of the block formation that was the original design. Now it's been streamlined and modernized and corporatized to a degree, I would say. It still evokes some of the charm of the original with the pastel flags at the top, but I think everyone, all Disney enthusiasts, can agree that there is a special place in all of our hearts for this beautiful, iconic Disneyland sign.
Absolutely. I love it so much.
Incredible sign. Amazing. I think this is probably the most merchandised sign of all time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
For good reason.
What do you think about our Disney World entrance signs? Do you love them?
The big, like, blue gate-looking things, do you mean? Or do you mean, like, the arch with the castle? Well, the castle's not there. The arch that says Walt Disney World and the font.
Yeah, that.
I think it's fine. I like that it's in the Waltograph, as we call it now.
Yeah.
But the emulation of Walt Disney's handwriting, his signature.
Right.
I like that being Walt Disney World. I think that's fun. I do think the Disneyland one has a lot more magic and intrigue to it.
Yeah. I agree, and I like the colorful,
So colorful,
and the retroness, the retro look. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think all of the shape, all of the shape work going on there makes it so appealing.
Yeah.
I will say my actual favorite version of the Disney World logo is a take on the original Disneyland logo. It doesn't necessarily look like the signs, but it adapts the medieval typeface in the same way. It was what was originally shown to be the logo in the Florida Project film that Walt Disney presented while he was alive.
Oh.
Once Walt Disney passed and the project was changed from Disney World to Walt Disney World, they adapted the logo into the 70s variation that we became very accustomed to before it was eventually then changed again to incorporate the Walt Disney signature appearance.
Yeah.
So we've had quite a history of our own for logos as well. But I think, honestly, ranking all of them, the original Disneyland sign configuration is the most appealing.
Yeah, I agree.
Love, 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 love those retro logos. Okay, are you ready to head back into Hollywood Studios?
Yeah, you have a current one?
The sign with all of the park with all the good signs, it turns out.
Yeah.
I think this is literally like the third or fourth on our list that's from Hollywood Studios. And it's one of my personal favorites. It's the sign for the Mouse About Town shop that is on Sunset Boulevard in Disney's Hollywood Studios. And what I love about this sign, well, there's a lot of things, but the thing I love the most is that it's got a motorized element that makes it so charming. It is, it's a banner type sign, so it's long, and it says Mouse About Town, and in between the words mouse and town, there's this little circular fixture of the sign, and in front of that is this cutout of a retro dapper Mickey Mouse in a gray tuxedo with a matching top hat, and he's got this animated cane that he kind of swings behind him as he is meant to look like he's walking about town.
Yeah.
And he's holding it with his gloved hand, and I just think it gives such a good classic dapper appearance, and it very smartly combines that classic appearance of Mickey Mouse with a very cool old Hollywood layout of the sign, a rounded banner with this rounded protrusion at the top to make it look like an old studio logo or an old Hollywood shopping destination. It's completely surrounded by neon, and the words Mouse About Town are also illuminated by neon at night. And it's got this cool contrasting color story of this deep forest green and then a yellow, orange, glowing neon appearance from the tube lights. And it all comes together to give a really whimsical presentation. And honestly, I just think Mickey looks so darn cute and classic in this logo.
Yeah.
He looks so good. I smile every time I walk past this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is so, I don't know, classic is just the first word that comes to mind.
Classic. They nail it. Hollywood Studios just knows how to capture that, like, retro Hollywood glamour vibe so well.
Yeah.
And this is so in line with that.
Yeah, totally.
Amazing. Okay, I believe this is this is one of our last ones. What, do you have something else?
Oh, yeah, but the one that I have that's my second to last one isn't really it's not as aesthetically amazing as the rest of them on our list, but I'm adding it because of its historical, you know.
Okay.
And
what is it?
that is at Magic Kingdom, where there's that kind of plaque thing that says, "Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy."
I didn't even think about including this.
I think that it's so iconic.
Yeah, it is. It's honestly probably one of the more recognizable signs in the park. It's just it never even crossed my mind, but I'm so glad you mentioned it.
It's not beautiful, you know what I mean? But it's iconic.
Right. It really is iconic. It's cool that there's one of these in Disneyland and Disney World.
Right. Yes, I agree.
Walt Disney World, I feel sometimes feels like it might be slightly connected from the legacy of Walt Disney as a human being, because it was opened after his death, and Disneyland was like so many personal touches from Walt himself. But this is an example of something that I think really ties it back to the old days of Wet Enterprises, Mapo Productions, Walt Disney's original vision for, you know, a theme park, and then Disney World as an extension of the theme park, you know, empire that he ended up setting in motion. But this sign really ties you back to that original vision that Walt Disney had for a well-themed, top-of-the-line created, you know, theme park. And I love seeing the sign when I walk into the park because it does give me that good emotional connection, you know? And then you walk by all of those cool posters, you know, and some of them are like the classic posters and some of them are for new stuff.
But still done in an artistically classic way, I feel like.
Exactly.
They're trying to tie together. I love that.
And the plaque, I feel like, is part of that story as well. And I think it does a really good job of making you realize that you're entering, just like it says, you're entering something fantastical and different from your world.
Leaving your worries behind, if you will.
For the rest of your days. Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I think we're at the finale.
We're at the finale.
Oh, boy.
So this finale is my favorite. Is this your favorite, or is this just at the top?
It's gotta be up there. I mean, in terms of, like, iconic signs, I know we're talking about something in Hollywood Studios. In terms of iconic signs, this has got... that still exist. Because I've got some favorites from the past, you know?
Right.
But in terms of surviving signs, this might also be my favorite. But tell the people what you've got.
The Pluto sign.
Oh, the Pluto.
So the Pluto neon sign, when you walk into MGM or Hollywood Studios, it's one of the first things you see on the left-hand side. He sits above the name of his store, which is the Pluto Toy Palace, and wags his little neon tail.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
That his tail wags.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. This sign gives me such nostalgia and happy, warm vibes. It's crazy. My husband looked to see if you could buy one, and you can. They're just very expensive for a small one.
Yeah.
But I love seeing him every time I walk into Hollywood Studios at night. I mean, obviously, you can see him during the day, but not really.
We've recently fallen into a bit of a worrisome period in terms of the history of this sign.
I'm hoping by the time this episode airs that this will be over, but go on.
I had thought, and I mentioned this previously on the podcast, and I'd like to apologize for it now. I had previously thought that I had overheard someone mentioning that the sign had returned to Hollywood Studios. And so I did mention that on the podcast with the disclaimer that it might, that I wasn't 100% sure.
Well, he disappeared right around the time of a hurricane.
Right.
We haven't, actually mentioned that yet, so I just wanted to...
That's right. Hurricane Milton came through Florida, and his disappearance was around that time. But since all of that, he has not returned. He still is not back atop of the Pluto's Toy Palace sign. And that is actually quite sad for us. We are hoping beyond hope that this is just maintenance and that he's just being repaired. Maybe one of the lights on his little tail went out and they just have to retube the neon or whatever.
I hope so. It's been weeks.
It's been a minute. So we're hoping they're just fluffing the fur, giving him lots of pets, telling him he's a good boy.
Yeah.
And that he'll be back on the street soon. But this is atop the list for a really good reason. A totally charming sign. Yes. Definitely gives a lot of Disney magic.
It's possible that it's back as you're listening to this. Check our Instagram page. When it comes back, I will post and let everybody know that he's back. So
we'll have a party.
Yeah, it's possible that he came back and it's not even an issue anymore, but as of today that we're recording, he's missing.
This is up to the minute news.
Yeah.
Things might change. Yeah. But yeah, for right now, we're still hoping for his return.
is a good descriptor, I think.
Yeah, he's got old school Hollywood appeal because he's neon and he's
Yeah.
animated. He's got Disney appeal because he's a really great rendering of the character. Even just the details of one of his ears is up and one of his ears are down.
So cute.
These are great artistic choices
Yeah.
that go into the sign. So, oh my gosh, I hope we get it back soon.
Yeah, me too. So he's my favorite.
Yes, yes. Good boy, Pluto.
Yeah, but I imagine that since a regular person could spend some hundreds of dollars to get a small version made by somebody, that Disney could make him again if he was destroyed during a hurricane.
Yeah.
When you think, I hope that, I can't imagine that he's gone forever.
I can't either. I really, in my gut, I do feel that he will return. Yeah, that it is maintenance, and that is the hope.
Yeah.
Okay, that was it, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the whole list.
Oh wow, we've been on a whole little sign seeing adventure. There have been a lot of good ones in here. We would also love to know, I think, from you all out there what some of your favorite Walt Disney World signs are, because there are a lot to choose from. And we'll also be doing in the future an attraction sign episode where we list our favorite entrance signs for attractions.
Yeah, that'll be
Disney
a top
World.
10. We're gonna battle it out.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. There are some really good ones.
Uh-huh.
But until then, if you guys would like to visit us over on social media, we would love for you to join the discussion over there. We are online on TikTok and Instagram at Neverland Navco.
Yes, we also have an Etsy shop called Neverland Navigation. You just search Neverland Navigation shop title in Etsy and send us a message and tell us what's your favorite ride or show or snack, and I will send you some ideas of things you can put on a shirt or a dish towel or a sweatshirt, and you get these for free if you email me at neverlandnavigationco@gmail.com and let me help you book your next vacation. Yeah.
Heck yeah. It's the best part about it is that a lot of people buy trip t-shirts and stuff anyway, so it's really nice to have that kind of included with your expert travel planning.
Right, for literally free.
For free, for no upcharge at all.
Yeah.
That's the real magic. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you along for this adventure, and we can't wait to see you on our next adventure. Goodbye.
Bye.
We did a little remix.